let's jump right in. So for this video, we're looking at your financial future, how to hopefully be successful. So we're calling this, we're looking at financial independence here. So there are some easy stats that I found that kind of show you'll be okay financially. Now, the economy is always changing, but this, according to statistics, are 3 things you can do just to make sure that you're good overall. So if you finish high school, we're in college, so check. Finish high school. If you get a full-time job, some of you might not have that, again, because you're in college, but if you do, and you wait until the age of 21 and wait to get married to have kids, you have a 75% chance of making $55,000 or more for your salary, for your yearly salary. And if you do all 3 of these things, only 2% of those people end up in poverty. So this is kind of a good little checklist. Just do these things and you'll be pretty good overall. Another little tip here is just to buy used things. And I was going to put this later on, but I thought right here is a good reminder. Buying a brand new car right after college, if you're taking on debt to do that, is probably not the best move. So try to avoid lots of debt, especially with things like cars and that kind of stuff. So buy used, right? Use your money wisely. Okay, so we've gone over this before in class, but I'm going to re-highlight this because it's fairly important. So we have financial stability right here. This is kind of your order of things because a lot of you are starting at baseline with 0 knowledge or maybe even 0 money right now. So this is kind of how you pull yourself up and start growing your wealth. First step is you want a $500 buffer in your checking account so you're not overdrawing. If you're overdrawing, you're going to be charged money and then you're just losing money. So you want to have $500 in your bank account that you never go below. Some people will put this in their checking account. Some people have it in a bank account. You just want that buffer there. Your next step is an emergency fund. And I think the coronavirus right now highlights the importance of this. Your first step is to get a $1,000 emergency fund. So that's if you're living on your own and paying all of your expenses, like 1 month of bare minimums kind of. So that emergency fund is just, not a whole lot, just getting you started. Next, you want to start paying off your debt because if you're carrying lots of debt, as we saw in the previous video, that can really add up and that's going to cost you money in the long run. So you want to get that debt paid off as soon as you get your $1,000 emergency fund. And of course, everybody's life situations are different, so this might not always work for you, but these are good general guidelines. And then the next thing is a 6-month emergency fund. So this is looking like $6,000, maybe more for some people. You really need to think about this. So a lot of Americans do not have savings, and a lot of people make more money than me and make quite a lot of money, but they scale up how much they spend with how much they make, right? I know people who make $50,000 a year and they have no savings. So you don't want to be one of those people because then something like this happens, you get laid off, you lose your job, and now you have no money, right? You got to wait on the government to get you money. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You want to be in a situation where you can lose your job for 6 months and can be completely fine, right? Well, not completely fine, but struggle and then make it. So once you kind of get these 4 things down, then that's when you can start looking to invest some money. So, and next week or tomorrow at 3, I'll do a investing video for you guys. And then I added a 6th one here is I think people should start thinking about additional income streams. So this could be a separate part-time job where you're making a little bit of extra money. This could be some passive income. So people do all kinds of things. You can create stuff, right? So YouTube videos, for instance, eventually people get paid with those. So try to find investing also. So dividends investing, you make money on the money that you've invested. So that would be a passive form of income. Part-time jobs, these could be little skills you have, like a little side business that you're doing. I think in the future economy, there's going to be less career work and more gig work. That just kind of seems to be the way things are going. And so, if you have a couple of part-time income streams, that can really help you during a downturn, right? Maybe you work in a restaurant, let's say, and you're laid off right now, but you know how to do computer work. So you're able to do different things with that while you're laid off to make a little bit of extra cash. So just kind of think about those. This is a good way to get you financially set up in the future so you're not worried about money. Okay, so next what we're going to do is make a budget. So I want you to make this budget with me. You can always rewind and do this again later, but the budget that I want to use for us is called the 50-30-20 budget. And what this is saying is you're going to spend 50% of your income on necessities, 30% on things that you want, and then 20% on saving or paying off debt. So let me switch screens right here and kind of show you how you can do this. I also have this website right here linked in the description below, so you can check out this link here. And so this is the 50, 30, 20 budget calculator. And all you got to do is enter your monthly income. So just for Eve, I'm going to just enter in my monthly income. So there we go, $2,500 a month. And so what this is telling me is I can spend about $1,250 on necessities, $750 a month on wants, and then $500 should go into savings or paying off my debt. So now we're going to break this down, and follow along with me while I break this down, because I want you to create your own. You can add columns, you can subtract columns, but I want you to create what we have right here. So first, go ahead and let's think about our necessities that we have in life. And these are going to be different for everybody. But what I want us to do is kind of break these down. So rent and utilities. You need a place to live, and you need to pay for electricity and so on. So for me, that's about $500 a month. Yours might be different. So let's say in your case, and if you don't know what it is exactly, I want you just to estimate. So I want you to figure out how much money it costs you to stay alive, even if your parents are helping you, because I think it is a good wake-up call. So rent and utilities for me is $500. For most people, this is going to be between $400 and $750. Depends where you live. Some places are a lot more expensive, so write what you need to do. For groceries, my groceries are about $250 a month. For other people, somewhere between $200 to $400, again, depending on what you buy. Next, you have insurances. So you probably don't pay your health insurance right now. You might, but you might be on your parents. So I'm on the Affordable Care Act, and I only have to pay, it's like 63 cents a month for my health care. It's not great, but I don't have to pay for it. So just because of how much income I make, we don't need to get into that. But health insurance is typically going to be around $300 if you're a single person making a significant amount of money. Although with some jobs, people are going to cover that for you. But I still want you to write something down there. It might be a little less if you're on a family plan, but yeah, just write down that at least your portion of that family plan might be less than $300. Car insurance, for me, it's $100. For most of you, it's probably going to be about $100 as well, depending on your car, how new it is, your driving history. So maybe it's $100 for you. So go ahead and write that down. Internet is next. So that might be included in your rent and utilities. So again, you don't need to copy mine exactly, but internet's going to be about $50 there. Cell phone's anywhere between $20 and $80 depending on your plan. Mine is only $25. And then gas money. For me, it's $100. I don't know how much, maybe it's $0 for you, but put whatever you think. And you can estimate on these. One of the rules when you're estimating, at least one of my rules, is that you overestimate. That way you're not running out of money at the end of the semester or something. So you're going to add all those up and then see how much your necessities are. So if we go back to this page here, my necessities were $1,250, and I calculated this at $1,025. So I'm staying within my means there. And as you get raises and as you make more money, you want to make sure you stay within these ranges, because you can get carried away and spend too much money and again not have those savings when you actually need them. So okay, let's go into wants here. So eating out, I have $100 on my budget. Sometimes I spend more, right? Especially, I feel like when I was a college student, I spent a lot more. So $100 to $200, maybe $400. Some people go really crazy with it, right? But eating out is quite expensive. So how much do you spend eating out? And then coffee. I don't buy coffee. I just make coffee. So do some math in your head, because lots of you are going to be buying coffee. So if you're buying coffee five days a week, $5 a time, that's going to be $100 a month in coffee, or $12,000 a year in coffee, or $1,200 a year in coffee. All right, entertainment. This can be digital entertainment, going to the movies, whatever it is. I have $100 for myself budgeted. Again, yours might be a little different, but you're typically going to spend somewhere around there. This can go for Netflix, video games, whatever it is, right? That's just kind of some things, because you got to enjoy some of the money that you make. I have a gym membership here as well. it's not mandatory. You could say that your gym membership is necessary. Mine is not because I have access to other gyms, so I just pay for that because I want to. And then Amazon, I just spend $100 on Amazon probably a month, maybe more sometimes. So think about things that are wants that you're spending your money on. And I have in my budget allows $750 and I'm only spending $350. Although that's not every week. Some months, or not every month, some months I spend a lot more. So think about your wants, add up your wants right there. And then last we have savings and debt payments. So this is again 20%. So for me, that's $500. I have paid off all my loans. I used to be putting $500 to my loan payments, but I paid that off last year. For you, tuition is kind of like an investment, I would say. So if you're paying in-state tuition full-time, you're looking at $860. If you're paying out-of-state, you're looking at $2,600. Those numbers seem very low. Well, I'll let you do the math on what your tuition is, but those are real numbers. I just can't remember how many credits that's for. So anyways, think about how much your tuition is. And then, this is per month. That's why. So this is in-state, it's $860 per month for your tuition. Out-of-state, it is $2,600 per month for your tuition. So these are monthly fees. You can write those down, whatever one you're on. And then your savings and investing. Since I have $500 here, I make sure that I throw in $500 into saving or investing in some way. And I'll talk more about that later. So you're going to create your budget like this. And, yep. All right, let me get to some of the questions. And if you have any questions, even if they're not relating to this, go ahead and ask them. So first question, do you recommend getting a credit card and building credit, or sticking with a debit card cash to ensure you are not overspending? Good question. So yes, credit cards can get out of hand. What I do recommend building credit. The video I did at 11, which is linked on Blackboard, is all about that. So I would check out that video. But yes, you want to build your credit because that's going to allow you to take out loans in the future. And your credit score and building credit is kind of like you showing that you're trustworthy when people are trying to loan you money. So I do recommend just getting like one credit card to start, and then maybe putting just your utilities on it, or just a small bill, and then going through that. All right, next question. When I was buying my house, my lender informed me not to pay off my vehicle until after I closed my house. Do you think some debt is okay to help with your credit score? Yeah, so you do need to have some. So debt can be useful. I'm not sure exactly why she said that. It was probably so that you could qualify for some kind of loan or something, or so you could get a down payment. But yeah, sometimes you do want to have some debt. It depends what the interest rate is. Everybody's situation is a little different. So, but yeah, some debt you need to have debt to increase your credit score. You need to have a loan out, or you need to be spending money on credit cards in order to start building that credit score. So, yep. What would be the best way to build credit by 20 years old? Oh, check out my other video because I talk all about that. So, what are the best things to invest in when you are just starting out? Well, if you don't know what you're doing, I would invest in paying your loans off, and then yourself, as in like an education. And then after that, I would just start doing a Roth IRA. On Tuesday at 3, I will go more in depth on all that. So, good question. What's the best way to pay off your debt? So, again, I touched on this in my previous video, but just like 20, 25, $50 a month. Just start making low payments, whatever you can make. That's going to be building your credit history as well, so that should be all beneficial. Make sure you check out that other video, which you're going to have to because those assignments are due on Thursday, so you'll get that info. What are some tips, tricks to selecting the right insurance company in your future? Okay, so for insurance, it's just calling and finding out what they offer and how much it costs. For health insurance, you don't have a whole lot of choice because, well, that's just how it works now. So you basically just have a bunch of different companies offering the same things at different prices, but they're kind of all the same price. So with that, it's just kind of what you can afford. Depends on a family, right? For car insurance, though, as you get older and as you get more secure, as companies trust you more and all that, your car insurance is going to get lower. The fancier, the more expensive your car is, the more your car insurance is going to be. So all those things matter. And like last year, I was paying 160. I was able to get it down to 100 because I called a few companies and got a better rate, which saves me a lot of money. $60 a month is quite significant. So that's something else to think about when you're making budgets is if you can save $60 a month, that's going to be like $720 at the end of the year, which is quite significant, especially if you put all that into savings or investing. I highly recommend trying to make little cuts anywhere you can, right? If you have like Netflix and Hulu, but you only watch Netflix now, maybe drop the Hulu membership. Just all those little things add up. Okay, is it better to slowly pay off several things at once or tackle them at the same time? Okay, so we're talking about kind of paying off loans, paying off debt, and that kind of stuff. What I would do is when you're down here, I would look at the interest rate. So if you have a loan that is at 7% and you have a credit card that is at 25%, pay that credit card off first because this is going to be costing you a lot more money long term, and then you can pay this off later. So there's a million different ways to think about it. When I was paying off my loans, I had two of them. I was paying on them a little bit on both of them, but then the one that had the higher interest rate, I was paying a lot more on because with a lot of these, you're going to have minimum payments. So you might have a minimum payment of $50. So let's say your minimum payment is $50 on each, so you're paying $100, but you have an extra $100 to spend. I would be paying that extra $100 to the higher interest rate one. All right, good question. How do you recommend building a budget if you lost your job during the pandemic and can't upkeep the money you need to spend? So in that situation, I would just make a budget of how much you're spending. So it doesn't need to take into account your income. Make a budget of how much you're spending and see where you can cut. That's what I would do. Yep. Okay, what should I be considering to think if I am relying on my parents to cover all my needs until I graduate? Yeah, so I would, it depends on your situation. If you're an athlete and you're working out a lot, that's kind of like a job and you're kind of paying for your tuition if you're on scholarship. So you can think of that as a job. If you don't have a job and your parents are helping you out, I think that's a great opportunity to get a part-time job. And then you're going to be able to build this savings down here. So that's what I would recommend is get a savings if you're lucky enough to have your parents be paying for things because then you'll just be that much farther ahead. Maybe you want to start a business in the future and now you have like $2,000 to get that going. It's good to have some backup money besides just your parents. And it feels good to be able to rely on yourself and pay for your own things. Another tip for that question is I would start paying like one of your bills and just getting used to paying that bill. So maybe you get a credit card. You pay your house utilities with your friends that you're using on your credit card, and then you pay off your credit card every month. And just tell your parents, if you told your parents, hey, I think I want to, start paying for my utilities, right? They would be so pumped. They would love you. So, hopefully they already do, but you get the idea. So that's what I would do is I would start slowly becoming financially independent and maybe pick up a part-time job if you have the time. So what should we look for in an insurance policy? Depends on who you are, I guess. If you're talking about health insurance, when you're young, I think you just need catastrophic. So it's like, I have to pay for everything up to $6,000 because I think in my situation, that's the best. When you get older, you'll get a job probably that will come with that. And then as you get a family, you got to get better insurances. With car insurance, you have full coverage where you're covering your vehicle and the person that you crash into or whatever. You can get just liability, which is that only covers the damage that you do to somebody else's vehicle, not your vehicle necessarily. Depending on whose fault it is, right, you might not get any compensation for that. So think about how nice your car is. Can you take a loss? In my opinion, I just have liability because full coverage is too much and my vehicle isn't worth that much. So those are some things to think about. Another really good tip is don't cancel your car insurance because if you cancel it, even if you don't have a car, they may think that you were driving without insurance and your rates are going to go up. That's what happened to me when I didn't have a car for a bit. I canceled my insurance and that was not a good idea. So, all right. Is there a certain age that you should have student debts paid off by? Not necessarily, but you do want to think about your debts because if they get out of hand, you're going to have a bad time. Let's say you want to think about how much you're going to make in the future, right? If your job is going to pay you, let's say $400,000, and you go $1 million into debt, you could probably handle that, right? Maybe maybe not $1,000,000, but I'm just making up numbers here. But if you're going to make $30,000 at your job, it's probably not wise to come out of college with $50,000 in debt, because $30,000 is about what I make. If you look at this budget, and I live very frugally, right? I only have about $500-600 down here to pay off my loans, and that's going to take a long time to pay off $50,000 with $500 at a time. So, you want to think about how much you're going to make and then how much debt you're putting yourself in, because you don't want to bury yourself there. So, there's no specific age, but I will say the lower amount of money that you make, the sooner you want to pay off your debt. And just in general, you do want to have your student loans. So if I had to throw a number out there, I'd say 30. If you can get them paid off by 30, that's going to be a pretty good goal. Okay. At what age, is a good age to pick up a credit card? So I think right now would be a good age. Check out my other video. It's linked on Blackboard on credit and interest, and that'll tell you there. So regarding paying off loans debt, does it affect your credit score to more to move smaller loans than it does bigger ones, even though they have the same amount? Well, that's in my other video as well. So if you are able to take out more loans, then carrying some debt can help your credit score. Just check out my other video. That's an in-depth question, so I'll leave it there. All right, next. As a college student, mostly dependent on parents, which means I merely have low monthly budget. Should I save up on my own, or should I invest or put them in a bank to gain interest? All right, good. So banks don't give you that much interest anymore. I use Icon Credit Union. They give you 2 to 2.5%. So that's decent. What I would do is where's this at? So if your parents are helping you with a lot of stuff and you have a low monthly budget, I would start working on these emergency funds. So and your bank will pay you a tiny bit of interest. If you can get some interest, that'd be good. But just start building these up first of all, right? And then, if you know that your parents are going to take care of you, if there's a downturn, or you need some emergency money, then I would get a jump start and start investing. And again, I'll talk about that tomorrow at 3. So tune in for that if you want more information on investing. But I would start doing some of those things to help yourself out. How much minimum should be in an emergency fund savings account? Well, in my opinion, you should get your savings account up to $600 if you're single, and probably like $10,000, $20,000 if you're a parent with a family, and then start investing the rest, because that's still money that you can access, but you just can't access it as quickly. So in my opinion, minimum is like $1,000. I mean, it depends, right? 500 is better than 1,000, so any amount, but then up to 6,000. Once you get to there, I think investing is the next way to go. So I'd get this and then start paying off debt, is what I would say. Okay. Do you have to start paying off college debt right after you graduate, or is there a time frame before you are required to start making payments? So I believe you have to pay, there might be like a 6-month grace period. I forget the rules exactly, and they're always changing. But you do have to pay fairly soon. So I think there's a slight grace period, but I don't know what that is. But you can start paying off during that grace period, which I do highly recommend. So, okay, I want to touch on one more thing here. So if you have any more questions, get those coming. So this is looking at renting versus buying homes, because this is going to help you be financially independent as well if you can own a house. So let's go over here. And this is a calculator, and I have it for Boise. It's going to be different for different areas. And so what I'm doing here is I just typed in my desired home price. Boise is a lot more expensive than this. But theoretically, if I wanted to buy a house in Boise, it's going to probably be about $300,000 on the low end, right? Okay, so we got that there. Right now, my rent is only $450 a month. So let's calculate this and see if buying a $300,000 house is worth it. So right here we have the cost of renting, this blue line, or this yellow line, and the cost of buying a house is this blue line. So if I'm trying to buy a $300,000 house and my rent is only $450, renting is more affordable. However, I'm not going to be buying an apartment probably, right? I'm going to be buying like a house. So if I was going to rent a house that I would want to live in, like in an equivalent house for rent, we're looking at $1,200. So as you get older and have a family and stuff, you're going to need more bedrooms, and so the house, your rental prices are going to go up. So if I want to buy a $300,000 house, and the equivalent would be renting it for $12,000, which is quite low in Boise for, like a 3-bedroom house. But this blue line again is the cost of buying. So as we can see, your first 6 or 7 years buying that house is going to be more expensive. And then this yellow line, as you can see, renting becomes more expensive as time goes on. So, you can use your own calculations here. I mean, if like right now the housing market is pretty inflated. So if I'm looking at like a $500,000 house and I'm looking at $2,500 in rent, let's see how this turns out. So again, buying would be a better option after 4 years. So just something to think about. And again, this is linked below as well if you want to mess around with this and play around with some numbers. So with this in mind, for most of us, buying a house is going to be a decent investment. You do have taxes to pay on that. You got maintenance, and you got to pay, you got to take out a loan for that. But for most people, it may pay off in most situations, in some situations. So now what I'm going to do here is, let's say I'm looking at, I don't know, let's just pick a number, a $300,000 house. So when you are buying a house, you need a down payment. And this is like a large sum of money to give the bank right away, because you don't want to take a $300,000 loan out for that house. You want to pay some money down. So 20%, if you have 20% down on a house, you're going to be in a good situation to pay off that house quickly. If you're poor or poorer, you can, for new time homeowners, sometimes you can get as low as 5% down. So if I wanted to buy a $300,000 house, and this is going to be different based on your credit score, where you live, who your bank is, all kinds of stuff, the cost of the house, how much money you make. But let's say I'm looking at this, a down payment at minimum, I'm going to need like $15,000. So again, when we're looking at your emergency funds and stuff, right? Let's go over here real quick. That $6,000 emergency fund, if you build that up even larger, right? Let's say you have a family and get to $20,000, there is your down payment potentially. You can also, if you have some investments like a Roth IRA and you're a first-time homeowner, you can actually take out of that without penalties and pay that towards your house. So you can start investing in the stock market and then eventually turn that into a house later on if you want. So again, I'll talk more about that investing thing on Tuesday. But so back over here, so this down payment is looking like $14,000, $15,000. Most housing loans are about 30 years. So you're going to be paying off that house for 30 years, but at that point, you're going to actually own the house. You can always pay it off more, but basically, it would cost me $1,740 per month if I'm buying a $300,000 house with this down payment over 30 years. So I'd have to pay this for 30 years before the house is mine. Now you can watch this number go up. If I go up here, that's significantly higher. If I'm down in the 2000s, I can probably actually afford that. So you got to find the best place for you. But there you go. Learn how to make budgets, become financially stable, think about purchasing a house. I mean, right now that's a ways off, but I just want to touch on the basics with you so that you kind of have an idea. So I'm going to answer the rest of your questions, and then we'll be good to go. So do you have a recommendation, or what do you recommend people do with their stimulus checks? Oh, yeah. So you get $12,000 if you're not a dependent. If you are a dependent, your parents got $500 on your behalf. Actually, I think it's over if you're over 16. So most of you got the money. What to do with your money? Well, I would either save it and let me switch this here. Save it and add to your emergency fund. Pay off your debts. If you have student debt, I would start paying those off. Work towards that emergency fund or invest. It depends on your situation. If you're not too worried about these because you have parents backing you and you have some money already in your savings, it might be a good idea to open up like a Roth IRA and put that in there because it's going to make you money long term. Again, I'll talk about that on Tuesday. Or if you have loans out or credit card debt, pay that off. That's what I'd recommend. And then if you don't, I would spend some and I would save some. So I would give yourself $300 or $400 to spend on something you really want, and then maybe put the rest into savings or investing or something like that. So how do I know I'm financially stable enough to begin investing? Oh yeah, good question. So again, I would follow this setup here. This is what I do. I have $6,000 just in my bank account, and then the rest, anytime I get above $6,000, I take that and I invest it somewhere. So that's what I would recommend there. All right, well, I will conclude this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any more questions, I'll stick around for a couple minutes. Other than that, have a good day. All right, another question. What bank in Idaho do you recommend opening up a bank account with? Oh yeah, great question. So I recommend Icon Credit Union. So I actually had a student who worked there, and she recommended me for their interest rates. Oh, Credit Union, there we go. So Icon Credit Union, they will give you 2.5% back if you make like 15 debit card purchases and have a consistent paycheck coming in. And 2.5%, let's say you only have $1,000 in there, that'll get you $25 after a year. So you'll get $2 every month. Yeah, about $2 every month. So that's kind of nice. You know, obviously if you have more money, I think it's up to $10,000. You can make a lot more money than that. So, you know, $25 a month, any little amount of money coming in over a lifetime is going to make a big deal. So I'm a big fan of Icon Credit Union. Credit unions also, they don't necessarily make money off of you. I forget the exact designation, but you're kind of a part owner if you have money in the bank. So that's why I like credit unions. Whereas large banks, if they're not giving you interest, they're just making money off of your money. So I don't know why I would want to give them my money. So yeah, that's my recommendation. All right, good questions, everybody. I'll hang out for a couple more minutes, but yep, if you want, you can watch any of those videos next week. And yeah, I'll give you a little bit more time and then I'll sign out.